You just declined an invitation. Simple. You had your reasons. But then it starts the mental rehearsal. Should I say I'm tired? Too busy? Do I mention the other thing? You craft the message. You rewrite it 3 times. You add a line at the end just to soften it. You hit send. And then you wait anxious, hoping they understand. Here's what nobody tells you about that moment. You didn't just decline an invitation. You just handed someone the blueprint to control you. Because every explanation you add is an opening, a negotiation point, a crack in the wall they can push through. And you've been doing this your whole life. Not because you're weak, but because somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that being understood was the price of being safe. Today, we're going to break that. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, 6 specific things happen inside your psychology that permanently shift how people treat you, how much energy you have, and who you actually become. Some of these will feel uncomfortable. One of them will change everything. Shift 1. You expose how much energy you've been hemorrhaging. In 2012, Stanford psychologist Roy Baumeister published research on what he called ego depletion, the idea that self-regulation draws from a limited cognitive resource. Every time you manage how someone else perceives your decision, you're pulling from that same pool. Think about what that actually looks like in a day. You rehearse the explanation before the conversation. You monitor their reaction during it. You replay it afterward, wondering if you said enough, said too much, said it wrong. That's not communication. That's a second job, one you never agreed to take and never get paid for. The moment you stop, you don't just save time. You recover something that feels almost physical. Like a background app you didn't know was running finally closes. Shift 2. Your nervous system learns a new equation. Here's the psychology most people miss. Overexplaining isn't a habit. It's a trauma response. Psychologists call it fawning. It develops in environments, often in childhood, where approval regulated safety, where the right explanation diffused tension, where staying agreeable kept things smooth. Your nervous system didn't learn that boundaries are safe. It learned that unexplained limits equal danger. So when you finally hold a boundary without justifying it, your body treats it like a threat. Heart races. Guilt floods in. Every cell screams, add more words. But this is the exact moment that matters. Because when you resist that urge, even once, you send your nervous system a new signal. I am safe even when I am not fully understood. Neuroscientists call this process extinction learning. You're not erasing the old pattern, you're building a stronger one on top of it. Each time you tolerate the discomfort of silence, that tolerance window gets wider. The urgency fades, and you start noticing something strange. Most people actually respond better to brevity than to the essays you've been delivering. Shift 3. Your relationships self-select, and the results are brutal. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who assert limits without extensive justification are rated as less warm, but simultaneously more competent and psychologically secure. Less warm, more respected. That's the trade. And here's what that trade reveals. The people in your life who respond to your clarity with curiosity, who ask thoughtful questions, who simply accept your answer, those people were always safe. They never needed the explanation. They just wanted to know what you needed. But the ones who push back when you stop over-explaining, watch carefully. confused about what you mean. They were never listening to understand. They were listening for leverage. For the weak spot in your reasoning, they could press until you folded. You'll notice some people in your life only feel comfortable when you're accommodating. The moment you stop performing your worthiness through language, they get cold, critical, or dramatic. That's not about you. That's them losing a tool they didn't realize they were using. Not everyone has earned a front row seat to your reasoning. Some people are close and safe. Others are distant contacts with opinions. They don't need the same level of access. Shift 4. Your language becomes a different instrument. Notice what happens when you over-explain a boundary. You say, "I'd love to come, but I've had a really exhausting week, and I have this other thing Sunday morning, so I probably shouldn't stay late, but maybe I could stop by for a bit." You just invited a counter-argument. You signaled that your decision is soft, that the right push might change it, that your needs rank below someone else's disappointment. Now say this instead. "I'm not available that weekend." Full stop. No softener. No apology dressed as context. Something shifts in how people approach you. They stop testing. They accept the answer faster. They don't negotiate what doesn't present itself as negotiable. This isn't coldness. Warmth and clarity are not opposites. You can be kind and direct at the same time. You just stop performing your worth through verbal gymnastics and start simply stating what is. The formula is almost uncomfortably simple. "Thank you for thinking of me. I'm not available. I hope it goes well." Appreciation, boundary, well wishes. When they push back, you don't take the bait. You don't provide the context they're fishing for. You simply say it again. "I'm not available." The people who respect you will accept this. The ones who don't, they were never going to respect you anyway, no matter how perfectly you explained yourself. Shift 5. Your body registers the change before your mind does. Research on chronic social stress shows that sustained anxiety about others' perceptions elevates cortisol, contributing to disrupted sleep, persistent muscle tension, weakened immune response. You probably know this in your body. The knot between your shoulder blades, the jaw you clench without realizing it, the exhaustion at the end of days where you spent hours managing reactions that weren't your responsibility. A 2019 study on self-concealment, hiding thoughts, feelings, and behaviors from others, found significant correlations with both physical health complaints and psychological distress. The researchers concluded that the act of ongoing concealment, not just the content being hidden, is itself a stressor. When you stop over-explaining, you stop hiding. You stop performing, and your body notices. Sleep improves, tension releases, cognitive bandwidth returns. You can actually think clearly about your own life again because you're no longer burning energy on everyone else's emotional comfort. Shift 6. And this is the one that changes everything. When you stop explaining your choices to people who chronically challenge them, you stop treating your own needs as cases that require defense attorneys. Over-explaining is rooted in a hidden belief. My needs are unusual. My limits are inconvenient. I need to prove that what I feel is reasonable before I'm allowed to act on it. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion identifies this as a failure of common humanity. The recognition that your inner experience is simply part of being human. You don't need to justify hunger before you eat. You don't need to prove exhaustion before you sleep. Your psychological needs are not less real than your physical ones. They don't require a stronger defense. When you truly internalize this, something shifts permanently. You stop seeking external permission for internal truths. You stop asking the world to ratify what you already know. And from that place, everything looks different. There's a question underneath all of this that we haven't named yet. Why do we keep explaining even when it doesn't work? Because what you're really doing when you over-explain is attempting to control something that cannot be controlled. You're trying to manage how someone perceives you. You're hoping the right combination of words will prevent them from being disappointed or angry or thinking less of you. It's a control strategy disguised as consideration. And the moment you see it clearly, that you cannot explanation your way into being understood by someone who is determined to misunderstand you. That you cannot justify your boundaries to someone who benefits from you having none. The compulsion starts to lose its grip. Being understood is a gift, not a requirement. Some people will get you with 3 words. Others won't get you after 3 hours. That's information about them. It is not a verdict on your worth. You were never the problem. The endless explaining was just the price you paid to keep a version of peace that was never actually peaceful. It was management. It was exhaustion in a quiet disguise. The day you stop, really stop, is the day you discover something that's been waiting underneath all that noise. You don't need permission to honor your own limits. You don't need approval to make choices aligned with your values. You don't need to prove your decisions to people who aren't living your life. Your internal knowing is enough. And the people worth keeping, they were just waiting for you to stop apologizing for being human. If something in this hit you, sit with it for a bit. And if you want more of this kind of content, subscribing just means it finds you when you need it. I'll see you in the next one.